we felt it would give us the best access to the strongest possible group of senior insurance decision makers.
Insurtech Insights is a must-do conference, I think, for the network that is built here.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for recovering from your first night here, making it here this morning. I understand the pain you must have gone through, some of you. So my name is Stephen Brittian, and I'm a serial innovator, angel investor, build incubators. I've launched over 100 businesses, and I was the co-founder of Insurtech Gateway, which was my kind of most recent chapter of trying to do that. And I thought I wanted to come along. I haven't spoken for many years, actually. I wanted to come along today because I wanted to put my enthusiasm and energy into the tech stage today, because it's bloody hard to do this. And I wanted you to see their journey, understand how exciting it is to be a part of it, to enable it, to support it, if you're an underwriter, if you're an insurer, if you're an investor. And I wanted you to understand how to do it to a point where you don't run out of energy. Why I've kept my energy 20 years in and 8 years into Insurtech. Some of the strategies I've done to stay here and to make it work. So I thought I'd share that today, because I wanted you to go away with a sense that you could really make this work. You could really back new and important businesses. So I was delighted to meet Red at our Christmas party last year and have a chat with her about, you know, could we remind everybody why we try to do this stuff? And could I share some insights? I'm standing in front of my own screen. So I called it Small is Beautiful. And I guess maybe I just wanted to remind everybody why backing startups is just so exciting. And it's because brilliant things happen with small teams who get given time and support to explore. You may recognize these two, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the original founders of Google. This picture, 1993. There's quite a few things that always, my life as a backer of early stage businesses, the backgrounds generally look like this. What you see here are wonderful exhibitions and logos, and they've got all their marketing right, but I tend to meet them in this state of chaos, and I'm trying to unearth the brilliance. But also when I look at this picture, you know, this is 1993. I mean, what were you doing in 1993? Were you trying to help Dell sell more computers? These are the options these guys had. You know, were you working in a Microsoft team? Or did you find a group of angel investors and backers who gave you the time to explore, to confirm that you were right, to validate your idea? The three angel investors that found these two and sat in rooms with them at this stage with $100,000 in each, and each one of them has made $1 billion from being in that room, being brave enough, having the foresight, and seeing where they were going, recognizing brilliance when they saw it. So it's stories like this and the BioNTech founders who for 25 years were sort of sitting in laboratories, you know, sort of, you can imagine Monday morning is, can I do this again today? Does anybody believe in me? Am I onto something? But what they were developing was messenger, or mRNA, which was a methodology for rapid vaccine development. It was a platform in chemistry. Now, it didn't make a lot of sense, but the family office that backed them 21 years ago and gave them a couple of years to set up a lab, and the European bank that came on behind them just believed in them, knew that they needed a new method of innovating, and that it was going to be seismic if they got it right. And it, you know, as they say, the best success stories are 10 years in the making. When COVID came, it was this team that had an answer, and it was the fastest deployed vaccine in world. In fact, I sat through COVID both wearing a mask and just following this story, just thinking, wow, this is 101. This is really big picture thinking about backing people who are really exploring the frontiers of where our industries and where society is going. Tim Berners-Lee, at the stage of this picture, who became Sir Tim Berners-Lee. 1989. What were you doing in 1989? I think about how irrelevant the work I was doing in 1989 and what he was doing. He was sitting in CERN, the loop, and he was there really just trying to accelerate the learning of CERN. Could he connect the researchers around the world to make meaningful progress? Because he knew that was the issue. It wasn't so much about the immediate tech challenge in front of him. It was, unless we can network affect this, we're never going to learn fast enough. And he had the foresight to do it. I wasn't sure how big the screen would be, but the little note I wrote on the bottom here was that as I was reading about him, he still drives around in a 13-year-old Volkswagen. This man could have been as rich as Elon Musk, couldn't he? But he just didn't care. He was just driven by a reason. And I think when you meet those people, I think the photographer captured the glare quite well in his eye. The man is going to do something. And often I get little more than that when I meet early stage businesses. Apologies for putting a chart up. It's the only one I'm going to show. But I think I've told you some very exciting technological breakthrough stories. It's really hard in an environment where you're all bred on risk. You're experts in avoidance of things that are risky and difficult to do, and we can't see quite how to get out of it or get our money back. And this is one of 100 charts you could see if you just type in startup failure into Google. It's a nice graphical chart because that basically said to me that this bit with the green ring on it just says that they failed to get product market fit. They failed to understand how to place themselves into market. They get too concerned about their own technical development, their own product. They talk to people too close to them without really seeing the big opportunity. And for me, I would say this, but the other 66% read like they fall out, they have marketing problems, they have team problems, which for me are all symptoms of businesses that haven't worked out where their market is. They haven't worked out. They have been they've been too internally too reflective in their approach on their product development and haven't thought enough about market. But my background was I was a founder of many founding businesses, and I failed spectacularly at several. And the early lesson I had was to start with market first. And I pivoted and became an insight specialist and studied markets. And I did it for 5 years in the biggest agency in Europe for doing so. And it was just that discipline. It finally gave me a discipline. I'm a postgrad mechanical engineer, but I didn't have the discipline of talking to my market. It changed me radically. It made me turn the process the whole way around. So when I saw those kind of statistics and I was meeting those kinds of people, I just knew what my role was going to be. I knew what I was here for. My purpose was to help those kinds of founders find their product market fit. If I could do that, I could probably solve most of those other problems too, and that maybe I could, if somehow I could make that into a formula. Hence my excitement to create incubators and to start to do this at scale, because I was making a playbook. That playbook was something I tried on several occasions, and I'd worked with BBC in the launch of iPlayer and the interactive television formats. I'd looked at new kinds of stimulus, the post-caffeine, post-cigarettes, and the launch of nicotine, big programmatic change for industry. And when I came to insurance, I shared this playbook about what I could do, and I met some people who had the patience and time to spend with me to say, can you help me turn this playbook? What I'm doing here is showing you the DNA of the Gateway, the Insurtech Gateway, which is finding small teams doing really important things. Me developing this playbook from really understanding problem to product and market and really aligning those tech teams, to really adding the risk and insurance business model. I saw insurance as a business model, a route to market sometimes, but generally a business model. And that somehow we were going to have to create milestones and transparency so that investors understood where their money was going and when they were going to get it back. That we needed a language of money and we needed access to money. So 2017, we put that together. It took us a year. And along the way, we thought the first thing we should do was to make it easier for founders, because it was £1 million to start launching an Insurtech at the time. So we rallied the FCA And it hadn't been done before, but we got the first FCA license so that we could launch our own stuff. We became a sandbox on top of that. So it meant that we could find these great founders, work them into market, and launch them, and give them the capital. But I think the biggest lesson for me, on my fourth incubator, and the other three, I think, did some exciting things, but people ran out of patience. I wasn't delivering fast enough. There weren't fast enough returns. The story of Insurtech was played out for me 10 years ago. And what we tried to, the hardest thing we had to do in making the gateway was to make it cash flow neutral. It was not going to be a cost to any corporate player that played with us. So we're not a cost center. We're not somebody whose budget gets switched off every 3 years and everybody gets thrown out, which was the symptoms of the early stage of Insurtech. Like a cockroach can't be killed now. Cash flow neutral. We develop businesses from scratch. We do secondaries and exit and recycle that cash. We created a fund business later. Fund business was really the motivation at the time was just to get some fees in so that we could not sell our best assets and not get switched off by anybody. So 10 years on, we're not switched off. We can't be switched off. We're a business, not a cost center. And that was the hardest and the biggest lesson I had. And I'm grateful for the co-founders that came around me, and you probably met them if you know the Gateway. Richard Chattock and Robert Lumley had much deeper, sustainable business skills than I did. This is a highly manicured unicorn, deliberately chosen picture. One of the biggest challenges when you've been doing I showed you lots of exciting things like where does Google come from and reinventing BBC and Netflix and other projects I was involved with. My friends and former colleagues, when I told them I was going into insurance, they thought I was utterly mad. Like, why would you waste your time? This group don't want to innovate. They don't know how to innovate. And I very quickly formed my own point of view, and I said, no, I'm in the right place. This is why, because I don't think my original purpose is to create unicorns. I think it's a distraction. Don't believe that the Insurtech unicorn is what we're after. I think that we're here to tidy up after unicorns. I think the unicorns are so destructive. This is 2017, and I was looking at the explosive growth of Uber and WhatsApp and Airbnb and all these things which were just going so fast and changing society so quickly that it had left the systems behind. There were people getting excluded from the system. There were protection gaps emerging that weren't there before. And that was my purpose for doing this in the first place, which was, can I find founders that will create us kind of self-regulatory mechanisms around Insurtech, around unicorns. And that was the original thesis. Like, insurance is going to be the tail of the comet, and it's going to tidy up, and it's going to deal with the late majority customer. The people who were afraid to go to Airbnb, not the people that went first. The people that are nervous to get in the car, not the people that backed it and got the license. It was going to make sure everybody else was okay. So I felt noble. And when I told my friends I was doing this, they went, oh, I see, now I get it. Can we help? Can we join in? And they did. And they helped, they mentored, some of them put money in, and that's what got us off the ground. You can see I like pictures and not charts. So every time we meet a founder and then we get them to tell us their fantastic idea, we get them to do the photo of the idea that they're trying to do. So this is the 50 companies and 100 products that have come from these groups. Here are some. I wanted to share with you my gallery, how I celebrate their tenacity, their big idea, and their reason for doing it in the first place. I mean, you can imagine the fun we had in that first month of just giving them that sense that they've got a team behind them, that they would jump in a lake in a pair of galoshes and a teacup to talk about flood flash, or they would take our team to the bottom of the super sewer so that we could really see what it meant, what we were really going to do. Or they'd take us to a flight simulator and explain what it's really like to run the risk of landing an aeroplane. So that we weren't intellectualizing this, we were getting pragmatically the problem, adoption, markets, how they were going to get there, and that we all started from that starting point together. People ask me about investment thesis. And between this small group, it's been a strategy in reverse for me. I spent many years trying to pretend I knew how to write strategies. But what you're looking at here underneath that line are all the startups in Insurtech that we've either found as individuals or pairs and given them that first leg up, or some of them we've joined a little later, but still pre-seed stage. And almost like a reflective view on it, it started to self-sort to horizons. And I think that was our survival as a team the cockroaches of Insurtech, who are going to be here when all the budgets get cut. We're still going because we're a business and we self-sustain. That we've got 3 horizons. We've got this kind of horizon 1, which gives insurers what they want, which is ideas around agility, cheaper, faster, slightly smarter, slightly more relevant insurance. And insurers know how to buy that because they recognize it. It serves a kind of fast food market, an appetite for shorter horizons. And if we wanted insurers to come on our cap tables and sit around rooms with us like this and review some of the harder ideas, we had to give them some of the things they wanted. We had to give them breakfast. Horizon 2 was something that was obviously the reason that I'd come in originally. This Taming Unicorns was really about uncovering new protection gaps, new categories. And some of the logos underneath, I'm going to go into a couple in a second, but the protection gaps were quite literally what do we do to protect the people that don't get protected by Uber? And the Airbnbs, and some of these names, human were protecting people from autonomous vehicles, on sea, looking after the riders who have zero agency now in this kind of delivery market. The Bondavals enabling small businesses to survive cash flow challenges, that the big multiples that are coming in and just pricing them out of the market and they've got no power. Juniper, who are looking after people's sexual health in work. Actually, I think I don't want to go any further. I'm going to get myself stuck on that rabbit hole. Blue Zone, who are helping diabetic sufferers, which are now 1 in 3 people have diabetes, who are approaching life insurance, and they're getting rejected and they can't get mortgages and basic access. So, noble founders in this kind of new line space, and then there were always going to be the social impact space, and we had a lot of support in the early days from reinsurers in the Nat Cat space, flood and fire, in hurricane, and they were excited to support us. They were patient. They were the most patient people I found at the beginning, who were willing to see this as a 5 to 8 year journey. And by virtue of that, we were encouraged, and we had the support to look at aspects of kind of offshore wind farms, flood. This was a earthquake insurance, and big sectors like cargo and freight. That they were, they had some serious capital at risk, and they were looking for new ideas. And that's put us in very different events. The last events I've spoken at weren't insurance events. I speak at climate events, renewable energy events. I speak to mobility and the sharing economy events. My diary is full of partnerships with groups who will help us find that deal flow, from MIT Solve program to Climate Kick across Europe. We share deal flow about ideas where we think insurance might be the unlock of finance, of getting businesses off the ground, of accessing new capital. I'm going to go into 3 examples. We were worried that I might finish too early, and I was told to pad this out a bit, so I can see 20 minutes in. Okay, Matthew. There are 3 businesses that have come through the portfolio, and what I wanted to do is to show how I wanted to share an insight and not a logo. Not a story about a fundraise, but why they've cracked something and why this is so fun, why this is beautiful. So you may have heard of Guard Hog that became Super Hog that became Truvi. Behind every name change is a pivot and a lesson. But they sit in the middle place between Airbnb and their guests, most simply, and all the other sharing platforms. 2020, I think, 2019, they thought the problem was about insurance. that we just needed to give the landlords insurance against bad tenants, or tenants insurance against bad landlords. But actually, there was such a nicer way to do it, which is about trust and transparency. And they built some really clever AI and data gathering information and created an environment of trust between those two parties. They sell really nice soft touch, KYC, connections and ways of resolving claims between parties before it becomes an insurance matter. They were piloting ideas of, like, when you break a teapot, this is how you can order me a teapot on Amazon and it gets replaced if you stay in my house. The trust scores in this business are off the charts. And what's really clever about their distribution model is they're now not sitting behind Airbnb. They're not Airbnb's insurer. That wasn't the deal. They work at the middle layer. They've got like 800 contracts with all the different landlord groups in the middle. They're cockroaches. They're not going anywhere. They've locked in distribution and they've got a great product. The real cracker here was that they were market first. We had to say goodbye to underwriting opportunity. We had to say this isn't insurance, this is pre-insurance. There's an investor, this worked. There's somebody understanding, so the risk management beat the insurance in solving for customer. With Chai, you may have come across them. They are like a market prediction team that help commodity markets. So they look at the futures of material pricing, and they build these amazing data sets, and we help them prototype and build an insurance-backed version of that, a warranty-backed version of that data. You're going to laugh when they're the cleverest guys you've ever seen, and they speak quantum, the most clever technologies. So to show some pots and pans, I was hoping one of them would be here to smile with me because I've taken a liberty. But it's a brilliant demonstration of an industry that relies on a single material, copper. When copper prices double, the Saucepan company is in major trouble. And this is where they put an insurance mechanism. And that is expanding as a footprint now into the recycled materials, into much bigger spaces now that are becoming mandated and regulated. But they're building, helping us manage the single point that will be the destruction of a small business. So a purchasing manager, when they start, says, I've got a huge reliance on this one material, but I can manage that risk. Now, very, very large companies do that, but small companies do not. So they found a way to share this knowledge and spread the capability and the resilience. And the third I'll mention is Loadsure. Loadsure is the brilliance of Loadsure is that Johnny McCord knew the sector inside out, but he just knew it wasn't fit for purpose, and he wanted to specialize. He's built a platform that will enable micro aspects of cargo and freight, single parcels, very fast deliverable, impatient market to get a quote and bind in 40 seconds. Insurance, will you do it? Yes, let's do it, go. It's light speed, and he's mopping up a market that the insurer can't serve because he just thought in a different way and brought a team around him and allowed the tech leadership in his team to step up and tell him where he should go next. Michael, I saw you at the back. So this is for you, Michael. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I likened what I feel my job to do is I feel like I'm a professional snogger on your behalf. You've seen the game Marry, Snog, Avoid. It's a TV game show. It's like a dating show where your friends introduce you to lots of potential dates, and they also help you decide whether you're going to avoid them, you're going to snog them, or you're going to marry them. And I think one of the reasons I can deal with that framing is because of my patience and the patience of the business model I've created in the Gateway. Is that I can take an 8-year view on this. And I can create an environment where they're just going to learn and fail and you don't have to see it. So insurers that back us, investors that back us, don't want to see everything. They want to avoid 98% of founders. We've seen 4,000 founding teams. I mean, it's just we just got really good at saying no delicately. But we have this extended period where we are exploring product market fit, testing with partners, where we're talking to the people who have backed us and saying, will you help us do a pilot, a POC? Should we put more funds into this? Should we put an underwriting panel together? And it's a time for us to build that very collaborative space. Why? Because one of them might be a big play for you. It might be something that you should acquire and grow, that you should consume. It could be the future of yourselves. You know, if we're given enough space and time to back proper, big thinking founders, then we might be the place that cracks that for you, that finds you the BioNTechs, that finds you the Sir Tim Berners-Lees, because you're not able to think that, have that kind of patience. My last slide, you'll be pleased to know, I saw you moving in the corner of my eye. 2025, I feel I needed to mention AI. We've gone a long way in an innovation conference without mentioning it, or agentic, or you can imagine it's been non-stop inbound. We're the destination for people who've come out of YC and other innovations who go, we might need insurance, we need an independent team to work with us. And I'm very simply saying, I'm a patient person about this. I haven't seen anything today that I'm going to bet the house on. It's changing so quickly. But I'm segmenting the market in terms of the end of boring. That's your boring jobs, the boring tasks within your industry. And I look for businesses that are just taking the really boring tasks away and keeping the fun ones. And I worry for you that they're going to take the fun ones away. I don't want to let it happen. So I'm kind of not choosing those groups. I'm very conscious of the taming the unicorn challenge, the unintended consequences of AI. I've just had a chat with somebody in the middle of the marketplace who is trying to look at the risk of AI itself, and this is really early days. And I've got an 8-year view on this. It's going to, next year something's going to surprise me that's come out of nowhere, and I want to back it, and I want to see it, I want to test it with you. But the big play, the retirement play, the thing that we'll talk about when people say, what were you doing in 2025? I think it's going to be around risk avoidance. I think it's going to be the ability for us to educate the customer that they just shouldn't do stupid stuff. So I think it's going to be the biggest industry in the world. Really think it's going to be enormous. That it's what Google will do to insurance, is just stop risk. Just say, don't build your house there, or the hurricane's coming, move. It's live, it's personalized, and I'm not seeing enough of it, and I don't have the resources to see enough of it. But what I would like to do is really kind of get dedicated teams out of the MITs and bring them into places that we can work together. But I know I need to deliver the early horizons to you to get that privilege. 10:29, gold star. So anyway, thank you very much indeed. I hope this has been a warm-up. I hope you appreciate the patience in my storytelling. And I hope you appreciate the fair exchange between us giving you what you need today, your Horizon 1 or Horizon 0 thinking. And what's really going to move the needle for this industry is probably stuff that you're just not going to get within your immediate needs. But backing a group like us or collaborating with us will mean that you get a mix of the two. And it's my job to make sure that I give you that balance and get it right. If you want to talk some more, my email address has got a slightly funny font, but Stephen Brittian at Insurtech Gateway. You can find me on LinkedIn. Or if you want to talk your own strategies and thesis, you can talk to me outside, because I'm just trying to get people to do excellent things. Thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the tech stage.